The beauty of being the adult is you get the privilege of regulating yourself first, that we are co-regulating with our children.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that kind of shocks my clients anyways, perhaps your listeners are a little more educated, is that our children co-regulate with us until their mid-20s.
Welcome to Transforming the Toddler Years, the podcast for conscious parents, caregivers, and educators who believe tantrums aren't terrible. They are powerful opportunities for connection, growth, and learning during the first 5 years. You'll explore how to use intentional language to raise calm, confident, and deeply connected kids, because the way we talk to kids becomes how they see themselves and engage with the world. Hi, I'm your host, Cara Tyrrell, classroom teacher turned parent educator and teacher trainer. Are you ready to nurture your children's mind, body, and spirit? Welcome, Toddler Tribe. Let's transform the toddler years together. Hey, Toddler Tribe. Everybody says to find your calm in challenging moments with your kids, right? But how? How do you do that? I am so excited to bring MJ to the show today. Murray Vanchon is a licensed clinical social worker with over 40 years of experience and more than 50,000 hours of clinical sessions, many focused on parenting and family life. She understood the need to understand how to take action and access our own inner calm. So she developed the Inner Challenge, a skill-based mental wellness program used in schools for over 21 years. She also worked directly in a preschool classroom, which continues to ground her work in what actually happens during toddler transitions, meltdowns, and power struggles. She is also the host of the Creating Midlife Calm podcast, where she translates psychology into practical, doable tools for everyday life. MJ is a wealth of information, and she really puts things together in such a way that they're easy to understand and take quick action on. So here is to finding our calm so that we can meet kids where they are. MJ, we did it. You are here. We're going to talk about wellness from the inside out for parents who have little people.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much. We had to reschedule because of my relationship with my daughter, so you were very generous.
Oh, well, and we are relationship first around here. It is the only way that any type of growing or learning or collaboration ever happens. So I'm thrilled that you had some time with your daughter. All right. So today we're really going to tackle this from a different lens. Before I hit record, we were talking about how there's so many people out there doing some wonderful teaching, myself included, about how to see the world through a toddler's eyes and how to feel the world through their growing body, and meet them where they are to try to shift their emotions and their feelings. But we are going to take it for us through the lens of the adult today and how our defining wellness really makes a difference in the way that we talk to and engage with and collaborate with those littles. So you tell us a little bit about you and what brought you to this work. You've been doing it a long time.
I've been doing it 40 years. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And year 7, after I was doing family therapy, the family left and I thought, there's so much information. This is in the early 90s. About mental wellness that people get, but they have to come to therapy to get it. And I began to play around with how could I get this information out there before people come to therapy. This is before the word emotional intelligence was coined. It was before social emotional learning. And I live close to the University of Notre Dame. I went to their library, talked to their librarian. I thought certainly someone has a program. There wasn't. So make a long story short, I created a program called Inner Challenge that is 32 years old. And it was a camp for girls initially, and then it went to a junior high for 21 years. And it was really in the junior high that it was like having my own lab and of really working closely with these students on Mondays and Fridays to create a program that helped them understand what mental wellness was and the skills necessary. And the beauty of what they taught me and what we co-created is that mental wellness is a junior high skill. You don't need to have a PhD in neuroscience. You don't need a PhD in human development. You need a little knowledge in both those areas. But when we talk about mental wellness, it is really something that as humans, we are wired to be.
It's true. It's true. Our based state is well. It is peace. It is joy.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
And so I start with two definitions. One is the World Health Organization's definition that mental wellness is when an individual can realize their abilities, they can cope with the normal stressors of life, they can work productively and fruitfully, and they can contribute to their families, their workplaces, and their communities. And as a clinical social worker, I wear two hats. I have a practice, private practice, and as well as a coaching practice. And often when people call me, and let's say they're calling because they're worried about one of their younger children, they will say, we have this 3-year-old and we're having a really hard time potty training them. And that is realizing a 3-year-old's ability. We want, that age and stage to be able to be working on potty training. And so, or they'll call about their teenager and they'll say, he's always done really well in school, but his grades dropped significantly last semester. And so those 4 things, realizing the ability of your age and stage,
right,
being able to manage stress, being able to work productively, and being able to collaborate, like those, we all know that. And that's why it's a junior high skill. There's probably going to be very little that I say about mental wellness that your listeners don't go like, oh yeah, I knew that. But it's powerful to have it in a really concise format.
It is. And it's also powerful to have it in a low stakes moment, right? Whether you're driving right now or you're doing the dishes or maybe you're walking on the treadmill while you're listening, you are not currently being triggered. You don't have cortisol running through your body in a moment of interaction with your little one. So you can hear this and process it differently.
Yes. And that leads me to my second definition, which is a model that I've adapted from Dr. Dan Siegel, who is a very respected neuroscientist. I don't know if you've used any of his material on your show.
Absolutely.
A Harvard-educated founder of the MindSight Institute. But his image for mental wellness is that our mind in its best, purest state is like a river. It's calm, it's alert, and it's peaceful. So if you're listening, you don't believe me, I understand that, but it is true. And we know it's true because of infants. I can think about a party I was at a couple weeks ago, and there was an 8-month-old sitting on her mother's lap, and she was just observing. And I could see in that mind, peace, calm, and alertness.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the river. But as adults, life happens. As children, life happens. And we get thrown on the bank of chaos, which is where our mind feels out of control. Or we get thrown on the bank of rigidity, where our mind wants to impose control. And anyone parenting toddlers knows those banks well.
Yes.
And knows that in the matter of 30 minutes, you can go from the bank of rigidity to the bank of chaos. That's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's because we are wired for connection. And so in understanding what happens to our mind reacts all the time. And sometimes where we start is chaos. Sometimes where we start is rigidity. It's just not a good place to stay.
It is definitely not.
And that leads us to the acronym that he has in the middle of the river called FACES. Flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, and stable. So I'm pretty sure anyone listening to this podcast is committed to conscious parenting, is using self-awareness on a regular basis. And again, like I want people to really have fun being a parent.
Yes.
Like I do understand that it's serious, but one of the beautiful things about being a therapist is I've seen like 16-year-olds raise pretty good kids. Like, and so sometimes the older we are, the harder we try, we lose the joy of it. We need to kind of like lighten up and realize that from the beginning of time, people have raised good children, and that children are wired to be raised. They're not projects.
Right.
And so part of what we do is we want self-awareness, we want conscious parenting, but we don't want so much of it that it moves us into rigidity of too much control or too much judgment.
Yeah.
So give me an example that you've heard, because you're obviously an expert on this age and stage, of when a parent might lose their calm, their peacefulness, their alertness with one of their kids. And I want to show you how to use the model.
Interesting. So what I was going to ask you, and I mean, maybe this will work. If not, I can come up with a different example. But a lot of the parents that I interact with these days are stuck. They're stuck on one side, and it's a post-COVID long-term kind of stuck experience of being in that heightened, frigid, fight or flight, scared state for so long that, one, they definitely lost the joy, right? And
Right.
two, now every time they go to engage, to connect with their child, they have an underlying fear that something bad will happen. The child will have a bad reaction. The child will behave badly. And I'm finding more and more of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so just to get them to feel well in a moment so that they can connect from that place of wellness has been a real challenge. So I wanted to ask your advice on that.
Okay. So we're going to like put the model aside for a second.
Okay.
Okay. But keep the model in mind, because what you're talking about is really wise. It's a fantastic question. Post-COVID, in a time of incredible political divisiveness, in a time where we are led more by algorithms than relationships, what impact is this having on our minds and our hearts? Right? And so it's helpful to know this. We have a brain and we have a mind. The brain is the organ that everyone knows what it looks like, and that runs all the systems in our body. Our mind, what's our mind look like? It's invisible. And your mind and my mind aren't the same. Our brains are similarly, but our brain is the subjective story of how we process information. And right now, one of the common stories people are processing about life for those listening who are in the US is it's a scary place.
Yeah.
It's not what it was when I was a kid.
Right.
I think that's true. And I think we can get to calm despite of it. And so the question becomes, what do I need to do on a somewhat regular basis to connect with my body and to move my mind from a scary place to a healthier place?
Yes.
And so I have people create what I call glimmer lists. 5 things that bring them joy, that cost nothing, that they can do easily every day. Every one of my clients creates them. And the best part of it is 95% of the people do it in 2 minutes.
Wow.
They'll say, walk my dog, watch a particular show, play gin rummy with my wife. They listen to music, play my guitar, draw. And as soon as they do it, they then go into why they don't have time to do it. Right? And what we have to understand is we're the first people who don't have time to relax. And the body is meant to restore and repair itself every day. with time to relax.
Wow. Yes.
And so when they say to me, because my clients are busy, a lot of my clients have kids, they're taking care of their elderly parents. I ask them to do a very simple thing. Pull out your phone and look at your phone use. Except for one person who was a college student. Everyone that I've asked this to looks at the phone, covers their face, and basically says, okay, I have time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really help people learn to outsmart their smartphone. And we have time, but we have to prioritize wanting to get back in that river.
Yeah. That is so insightful. And the way that you frame things, the way that you phrase things, it already makes me feel calmer.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, that's what we need more of. Absolutely. Okay. So ask me your other question again, and we'll go back.
So we're adapting Siegel's model to parenting.
Yeah.
And we're adapting it to how can a parent in these busy, difficult times cultivate mental wellness? Mm-hmm. The first thing is all your listeners already have it. Self-awareness.
Yeah.
Right. So we're already winning. So you're doing your day. Everything's going great. You had your coffee, you all green lights on the way to work. You get into work and your bosses like completely ruined your day because they're like, oh, we need you to facilitate this day tomorrow, which is a lot of work and was not expected. Mm. And so you go on the bank, right? And so that calm, peaceful, and again, I don't mean Buddhist monk calm, right? I mean American calm, right? But that good, this things are rolling day is lost. And you become, let's say you're on the bank of chaos. Mm-hmm. This is so unfair. I don't have enough time to do this. My boss always does this to me. I need to do a super great job. And this would be a 2-day planning thing. And you're like, oh, there I go again. I'm on the bank of chaos. Mm-hmm. I'm catastrophizing because you're also using self-awareness, which is the foundational tool of mental wellness. So without any judgment, you just slow everything down and you put your feet on the floor and you ground yourself. You take a couple breaths and you pick something up like this fascinating cup. And all you do is watch it. And your mind's going to want to go back to the bank of chaos. And you're like, no, come back. And you just do this simple mindfulness exercise I call notice on the outside, because you're stuck on the inside. And where you're stuck is on the bank of the extreme. And you bring it back. And you understand that the body and the mind are intimately linked. And when the mind is on the bank, it is revving up your central nervous system. And what you have to do is calm it down. And any simple mindfulness practice will calm it down. We have made mindfulness so complicated. All it is bringing your mind from the banks to something that's more neutral. Just breathe. If you want to be fancy and do box breathing, great. But I don't like any of that stuff personally. I just breathe. And I just wait for my body to calm. And my mind will follow.
And I read that all it takes is 90 seconds. If
You're
given
absolutely right.
the opportunity and the space, the body will naturally return to its calm state of being in 90 seconds.
Yes, that is proven. And it is the happiest moment of my 40 years as a therapist. Because prior to science proving it, my clients proved it. Because I had a clock with a second hand. Remember those clocks back in the day?
Tick, tick, tick.
And when I would have my clients practice emotional regulation, I noticed that their emotions went up and down. And it was usually around 90 seconds. So when the neuropsychiatrist out of IU came up with this, I forget her name, she wrote a book, Stroke of Insight. When her research showed this, I was like, oh my gosh, I know that you spent a lot of money on that research, but all you had to do was talk to my clients because they were doing it in 90 seconds. But I'm glad you brought that up because that's all it takes. And what people think is, I don't have time.
Yeah.
And it gives you time.
Right.
So you're in this river, you're on the bank, you do this notice on the outside. And then those 4 words, faces is flexible. A is adaptive, C is coherence. Those are the 3 main ones. And you always start with C. Is this the whole truth? Is it the whole truth that I have to do facilitation tomorrow like an Olympic champion? If my boss is giving me a day, who's putting this pressure on oneself to do it in an overtop way? Like, is it the whole story?
Mm-hmm.
I had this last week in my office. That's why I'm using it. And then she regulated herself in her office. And when she got calm, she was like, no, that's really not the whole truth. And actually, I can probably put it into AI and in a minute, get something that would have taken her in the past a long time, a place to start.
Mm-hmm.
And so her coherence was, wait, I have AI now. I can actually save hours and really have fun putting it over the top because I don't have to do all the foundational things. She's very experienced. She knows what she's doing. And so her coherence after she calmed herself, because we have to understand that mental wellness is really being committed to doing simple things to calm our minds so we can think more clearly. And she did that and she got into coherence. Oh, I can use AI and then I can have fun and do what I love. And so she practiced being flexible. Mm-hmm. Like part of her is very ambivalent about AI. Like, am I cheating? Blah, blah. She had to, no, it's a tool. I can be flexible. I can use it. And then she was adaptive. She's like, okay, the whole way through, she's kept kind of like, this doesn't have to be the best thing in the world. They're giving me one day. And then when she was done, her energy was stable and she was stable. Like she had good energy, not crappy energy from the bank. And she herself felt stable. It is that simple.
Okay, so I love that we actually started with this example because it is an adult who's interacting with an expectation, right? But there's not another person on the other side of that interaction. Yes. So let's take it home then to that parent-toddler interaction, because in that case, you've got another tiny human on the other side of that who keeps throwing the triggers at you to head back to the other side of the bank.
Yes, yes. And so it's helpful, and I bet you've talked about this on your podcast, emotions are contagious.
Yes.
And the beauty of being the adult is you get the privilege of regulating yourself first, that we are co-regulating with our children. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that kind of shocks my clients anyways, perhaps your listeners are a little more educated, is that our children co-regulate with us until their mid-20s. Mm-hmm. So from 0 to 3, they are completely dependent on us for co-regulation. And if we understand like, ooh, that 2-year-old is throwing a tantrum and that's contagious. I want to stay in the river because they're on the bank of chaos. We ground our feet and we take breaths. And we actually do this little trick that I teach people. You watch that toddler like a movie. Mm. See, this particular example is counterintuitive because co-regulation isn't just about when they're dysregulated.
Correct.
It's primarily when we're co-regulating them and loving them. Mm-hmm. And that little 2-year-old who's a little monster for a few minutes is actually a darling doing something that melts our whole heart. And we are sending love to that child. That is co-regulation. Or that little daredevil goes up the slide at 2, but should really be 7. And everything in our body says, protect, protect. That's co-regulation. When a child is tantruming, we aren't loving, we aren't protecting, we are often experiencing distress inside us.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that distress is back to our own childhood experience of being parented.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lovely line in the therapy land that says, what is hysterical is historical. So when we find ourselves as parents lit up to a degree that doesn't make sense, when our toddler's just melting down because they're hungry or tired, it's helpful for us to think about our own experience as a toddler.
Yeah. And one of the things I loved so much about what you said was you used the word observe. Yes. And so that is what I teach, is that when we stand in the middle of that river, we need to auditorily observe what we are seeing in front of us so that they can hear and recognize that we actually are witnessing it. But it's not a judgment. It's I see that you are upset. I see your body is out of control. It sounds like you are feeling XYZ. Like, by saying these things out loud, we're actually putting our feet on the ground.
That's right. That's right. And sometimes we can make it very simple. I'm here with you. Mm-hmm. That a dysregulated child can only become regulated with a calm adult.
That's right.
And everybody has to understand through trial and error, because no two kids are alike, when to use words and when to say, I'm here, and to do that in a calm way. A lot of my clients, as they learn what you teach, they learn that for them, saying less is better, because when they say more, they begin to reveal their own distress inside. And so they see the child melting down and they're lit up, but the child is in their own world.
Yeah.
And so the parent observes, stays. And sometimes it's really appropriate, especially with older children, to say, I see you're upset. That's how children learn emotions. That's your expertise, right? You're really sad about that. But so it's like, everyone uses this example because it's such a good example. Put your own oxygen mask on first. And what we like to say to kids is, you shouldn't be upset, because we want to explain to them why it's not necessary. But they don't have the cognitive ability for that. So I call it French. If your child is emotional, speak French. When your child's in a logical state, you can speak German. There's really no German, in all honesty, till they're 4 or 5.
Right.
And so French to French. And so if you see that your child's on the bank, you're like, oops, my job is to get calm and grounded. And that means you can ground your feet, take a few breaths, and in your words, observe. In mine, watch them like a movie. Right. There's nothing to fix unless you have to keep them safe.
Hey, Mama. Cara here, just hopping in to say how impressed I am by you and your dedication to raise a whole child who will be world and school ready. You know that parenting is a job, a job job, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to know what you don't know. And that's what I'm here for. My Transforming the Toddler Years course is currently closed, but I am accepting one-on-one clients who are looking to make massive transformation inside their home. If you're feeling overwhelmed, disconnected, and that you're in survival mode all day, every day, but you wake up determined to be intentional, calm, and connected so that you can help your child thrive, I can help. Schedule a complimentary connection call with the link in the show notes to share your parenting journey and your current struggles. Let's see how we can work together to help you transform the toddler years. I want to come back to how parents who feel so elevated, so anxious, so there's not even the great word for it. It's just like an energy all the time, can even take one step, one small action towards feeling that sense of calm and presence that you're talking about. Because for so many that I know, I'm not sure it would even feel that familiar to them right now.
Yes, because we are in a state of heightened alert as a culture. I often say we don't have a mental health crisis. We have a lifestyle crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like to help parents understand is that they have this opportunity when they walk in their front door to create a calm place. And the first thing they can do is put the phones away. Because I don't know if you've had anyone on your phone that's talked about that overuse of the phone for adults, that's more than 2 hours a day, actually creates anxiety.
Yes.
And I was keeping data from 2015 to the pandemic, and 35% of my new intakes came in self-described anxious and depressed. Their phone use averaged about 6 hours a day.
Wow.
They all had kids. They all had jobs. And I said to them, like, I can't really assess you for anxiety or depression because your phone use will make you anxious or depressed. If you're willing to get it down below 2 hours, we can do that. And of that 35%, 90% of them were out of here in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
They didn't know that. This information is much more widely dispersed now than it was 10 years ago. But one of the things I have many of my clients do is they share their phone and their sleep time. And without proper sleep, because we need 7 or 8 hours of sleep, some people would need more, very few people need less. The body doesn't have the time it needs to restore and repair.
Yes.
And we need to be off the phone. And both of those things, like, most people can have more sleep once they're off their phone.
Yeah. I mean, that is an incredible statistic. The other side of that is screen time use for kids. And, we know that there's a very small window where the American Pediatric Association even opens that as a possibility for their day, like 30 minutes to 60 minutes in the 3 to 5 year old range. But the thing is, if you have a parent who is presenting as anxious and having anxiety because of over screen use, and you have children who are presenting with, in what we see, attention issues because of over screen use and that quick hit that they're getting, that is definitely a recipe for one on one bank and the other on the other.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we see. And what's really tough is people want to feel better.
Yeah, they do.
But they don't always want to change.
Change is hard.
Yeah. And the phones are addictive. I mean, no frickin' judgment. These phones were designed with addiction in mind. And so I've done a ton of work. I have a program about phone use. I created it with 7 families. It was painstaking. It was hysterical. And it came to a conclusion that none of us started with. And that was, and it's not my words, it's a 35-year-old engineer who never thought he'd see himself in a therapy office, who said, well, we would all meet. These phones are like guns. We need to lock them up. He was a hunter. And I was like, yeah, like, I like to think we're all better than that.
Yeah.
But the truth is, they have created something that makes us addicted. And we understand that with substances, with cocaine,
right.
And, so I really encourage parents, and I think those parenting toddlers now are going to be the generation that changes this.
I agree.
But the children will mirror your phone use.
Yeah, I agree with you. And right now it's this beautiful idealistic vision for me, because to be honest, I still see 90% of the toddlers in the grocery store with a device in their hand. So the shift, I think it is coming. But what I love so much about what you created is that you call it this inner wellness challenge, right? That this begins with me. Everything in life begins with us. And then it expands. I mean, when I walk into a room, children gravitate because they know the only thing in the world I'm there to do is be with them.
Yeah.
That's it. And I curate that quite intentionally.
Yes.
So it is possible. It doesn't mean that and I've been thinking a lot about this lately, MJ, because I have people say to me, when I work with educators, and you can see who the naturally calm people are. Yep. They just kind of have that calmer energy. A lot of them are introverts, and it's easier for them to access. And then you see the people who are the bigger energy, and they respond and react very quickly to everything, and their movements are super sharp. And they say to me, it's really hard to find my calm. But I love that you're teaching us that it actually is available to every single one of us. And what I'd love to know, and as I think about people going and listening to your podcast, because that's what we want to hear more of you, is how the state of the world being what it is, the state of parenting being what it is, everything that's been put on us in the last, and it's not even that long, right? The last 30 to 50 years of how significant the changes in the way that we interact with others and our world. What do we have to do to redefine what it means to just be well as a society?
Well, I think it's really simple. I hate to say it. We can make it complicated, and I don't think we can do it as a society. But because I've done it with so many families, I'm very confident about it. Put the phone away, go to bed, eat good food, don't get overscheduled.
Okay.
It's that simple. And that's what everybody was doing 60 years ago.
Yeah.
The difference now is that the infrastructure doesn't allow us as a culture to do it, because our economy is dependent on us eating crappy food. Our economy is dependent on us not sleeping and watching Netflix. Our economy is dependent on us, instead of having our child in the grocery cart and saying tomato, giving her the phone. And I think that we can step into our agency. It used to be easier only because the infrastructure was there. And now people it's a self-serve. It's a DIY. You have to do it yourself, or DIY. You have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And what I try to encourage my clients to do is find 2 or 3 other people who will go on this journey with you. And it is not hard, and everybody saves money and everybody saves time.
That is great. Just your tiny little tribe.
Yes, you just need to. I mean, I did it with 3 other families, and it wasn't hokey, and we weren't meeting to burn incense. It was like we all agreed that we weren't going to overschedule our kids. And then when my sister said to me, man, like he's 7, MJ, and he's still not done any activities. Like, aren't you a little afraid he's never going to be able to play sports in high school? And I'd say to my friend, well, like, I mean, I knew I was going to have him start like once he was in grade school. It was like second grade. But it just, we talk and we're like, well, I mean, the chance of my kid, like my husband's a college professor, I'm a therapist, the chance of him playing sports in college is pretty low, right? I want him to play sports to have fun, and he was going to go to a school that had sports and he was going to be able to do it. But did I need to disrupt our life to have him do soccer when he was 3? That wasn't fun for me. He wasn't asking it.
Yeah.
Right. And my friend's son played soccer at 3. It was lovely. I was like, go team.
Yeah.
But we don't have to blindly follow being overly scheduled. We can put our phone in a drawer when we get home.
And what you just hit on is super valuable, because what I don't think people know as common knowledge is that early childhood goes from birth to 8.
Yes.
Not birth to 3, although I often hone in on that developmental period a lot. Not birth to 5. It doesn't stop the day they start kindergarten. It is birth to 8. And you get that many years to lay that foundation of that sense of self and the overall feeling that their state of being that they experience for the majority of their waking hours. Obviously, we go through all the different ones back and forth throughout the day. And, just to bring things home here, MJ, I am thinking about the fact that the majority of the people who come to me or I've worked with say some version of, I have had to go back to reparent myself in order to be able to be a better parent to my kids. And as I listen to you today, I think to myself, wouldn't it be lovely if our new goal isn't just to parent differently, but our new goal is to raise kids who become adults that don't need to do that?
Yes. I mean, I don't want to put too much pressure on parents, right? Because I believe that most children, I think I was a very good parent. And I think my kids have to go back and reparent some stuff.
That's interesting.
Right?
And
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, the goal isn't perfection.
No, that's not what I mean at all. I just mean the idea that wellness is what we lead with.
Right. And we have to understand that the culture is not well. The culture is not well. The food we eat isn't healthy. There are people who do a very good job, but they intentionally do it. They intentionally do it. The amount that we overschedule our kids. I worked in a junior high for 21 years. Here's an incredible pandemic story. I was working with 14 families. Our schools were out a long time. I had offered one free session to the whole family the first month of the pandemic online. It was crazy. And I have some families with lots of children. So I had them take paper the week of the session and write what I miss, and then another paper that said what I love. 14 families. And some of these families have 6 and 8 children.
Wow.
So of those 14 families, we probably had 45 kids. 1 month into the pandemic, one child wrote, what I miss, baseball. What I like, time with my family, getting to bed, getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
Playing outside, playing games with my siblings, having time with my pet. It was shocking. And again, I think kids love activities. But when you talk about childhood from birth to 8, children are meant to bloom. Like, parents aren't making that happen. They're wired to grow. They're wired. Anyone who has 2 children knows, oh my gosh, they're so different. Right? They're wired to just be who they are.
Well, Toddler Tribe, that was an abrupt ending. We had a technical glitch, and all of a sudden, MJ just left the studio. So I just want to invite you to go listen to her podcast. It is called Creating Midlife Calm. And you don't have to be midlife, my definition of, right? You don't have to be my age in order to access calm. Please go check it out because it is a valuable resource. And I'm sure that, like me, you want to learn more from her. She takes things and puts them in such a succinct little package and makes us able to take action to calm our own bodies. All right, Toddler Tribe, you know what to do. Stay mindful and proactive until our next episode as we transform the toddler years.